Now and forever, we bring IT to life.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Good day and welcome to the Connect with Remedy monthly webinar series. Today's webinar is being recorded, and at this time I would like to turn the call over to your host, Mr. Rick Brooks-Hill. Please go ahead.
Thank you, operator. Well, I appreciate everyone joining, and today we will be talking about why you might want to run your ITSM instance in the cloud, and of course we'll specifically be touching at certain points on remedy-on-demand. And we're in the beneficial position of being able to share some of our best practices that we've learned from running the globe's largest remedy cloud. We have over 450 clients within remedy-on-demand. And we have a number of lessons that we've learned from running this cloud and how we've implemented and how we deliver our service. And it's my pleasure today to introduce Nandu Mahadevan. He is our Vice President of Remedy-on-Demand Operations. Welcome, Nandu.
Thank you.
And prior to Nandu's current role as our Vice President, he was an executive within BMC's IT organization. And the beauty of BMC's IT organization is that BMC IT gets to be the first adopter of all BMC IT tools, which, as many of you know, are the best in breed, the best in the market. So Nandu has a deep history of understanding the tools and optimizing our IT environment, and has been able to bring that experience over to further optimize the remedy-on-demand cloud. I'll also be presenting some content today. My name's Rick Brooks-Hill. I'm the Director of Product Management for remedy-on-demand. I've been with BMC for a little under 2 years now, and I came via an acquisition of a company called Partnerpedia. We were a cloud company focusing on consumerized applications. I was the GM of client services as well as the COO at various stints in the company. And with those introductions, I'll share a little bit about what we want to talk to you about today. So we'll start off by sharing some customer expectations around cloud ITSM, and customers have high expectations of how their experience drives. It might be with respect to their experience, so the consumerized SaaS experience. It certainly is with respect to the availability that they need to achieve. Performance within the cloud is a critical expectation of any of our customers and any customer moving to the cloud. We'll also talk about what it means to run the largest remedy cloud and how we manage that. We'll talk about some of our principles and our tenets for best-in-breed cloud operations. So things like scalability. How do we achieve the best-in-breed scalability practices? How do we automate in the best way that we possibly can? IT operations management is critical when we talk about ITSM, and it's something that remedy-on-demand in particular we'll see leverages extremely well. We'll dive into ITOM a little bit, and of course we'd be remiss if we didn't dive a little deeper into remedy-on-demand itself specifically. So with that, I'd like to turn over to Nandu, and here you go, Nandu. Take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Rick. Hello and welcome to the webinar, and thank you for this opportunity. I just want to give maybe a 2-minute background of my current role and my history with BMC. So this is my 10th year at BMC, so not new to BMC, but really new to remedy-on-demand operations. But prior to about 4 months, I would say, right now in this current role, running all of the operations supporting remedy-on-demand. So like Rick was saying earlier, it is really the largest remedy cloud. We have more than 4,000 servers across 10 data centers. And there's a lot of complexity associated with running cloud operations. And what I hope to share today is kind of the customer expectations and what are we doing to run operations to what I call more like a world-class standard. Fortunately, by working in BMC IT, which is sort of more of a private cloud, managing hundreds of applications, really we brought to bear all of the BMC technologies in order to bring about efficiencies in IT operations. So my role in IT before remedy-ondemand was really to automate IT. So it was a strategic role created by the CIO, especially with that one visionary goal of how do we automate the functions of IT. So that then turns into the people, process, technology aspects of bringing everything to bear to achieve that vision. Because at the end of the day, every IT shop really is concerned with changing demands, growing demands, and with shrinking budgets. So really, how do you scale operations without adding a whole lot of people year after year? Moreover, there's not really a growing budget that goes with it. So I'm taking all of that experience and journey and lessons learned from that and applying that to the remedy-on-demand cloud operations. First thing that people, what we need to think about is what are our consumers expecting from a SaaS service? If you think about it, the history of how software as a service evolved, really the consumerized SaaS, by that what I mean is kind of like a Facebook or a Gmail or Yahoo, those applications really set the standards for SaaS, meaning it's always on, it's easy to use, a lot of flexibility, changes keep happening, but it never goes down, and we just consume the new features all the time. So while that standard was set, then came on the enterprise applications in the cloud or enterprise SaaS applications, and they're now challenged to kind of meet that same expectations of an end user who's already used to other SaaS services. But then we all know that an enterprise application has a lot more complexity associated with the nature of the beast. That includes data security or architecture, and even the number of function points that an enterprise app has is a lot more comprehensive than a simple email application or things like that. So having taken all of that into consideration, we still want to meet that end user expectation. So that's the challenge that we're trying to meet, and I'll explain how we do that. The other customer expectations really are around availability, meaning everybody wants the system to be always on. That's what they expect from cloud. And performance. By that, what I not just only mean that the SaaS application should perform well, but it should perform well irregardless of what the demand is. So in other words, there is a notion that of cloud that it's infinitely scalable. So if a customer is trying to do 10 things instead of 2 things, the cloud service should be able to provide more resources to still achieve that demand. So that is the expectation from our customers. So it should always perform well regardless of what they're doing. The last two are sort of unique to an enterprise level SaaS application. That's because, like I was mentioning earlier, the complexities are huge, which means there's a lot of things that require back and forth communications and back and forth, either defects or requests for enhancements and things like that, that interactions that happen between the customer and the SaaS provider. And therefore, the expectation on resolution times and response times have to be really met. So our SLAs around it become much more critical because the whole thing is treated as a service, both the product as well as the things that go around it. And along with that goes how effective is the service level in terms of the first call resolution or the service desk or the support, the people that interact with the customers, and how well is the service, as opposed, for instance, it could go really bad if the customer has to explain the same things 10 times over to get something simple done. And the communications aspect and how we manage internally the various teams to ensure that the handoffs are a lot more smoother, and we look at every use case from a customer-centric standpoint, all comes into play. So anyway, these are sort of the expectations. And by the way, these are real-life experience based on running Remedy Cloud that we have gathered as the top expectations from SaaS, from a Remedy world. Okay, so if we go to the next slide. So when I started about 4 months ago, we wanted to, first I did an assessment of all the things that are happening in the remedy-on-demand world that are going good and not going good, and wanted to figure out the various strategies to really achieve, world-class from where we were operating. So what I've learned over and over again is that there's a saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. By that what we mean is we can have all the strategy and the vision and goals, but if the culture of people are not oriented correctly, then no matter how we try, it's not going to be achievable. So that's why time and again we listen to or go to seminars or read books or listen to folks, and we get it, but then it's so hard when we go back to our shops and try to implement that strategy or vision. That's because we haven't done enough to work with the people's attitude and culture towards aligning them towards the strategy and vision. So I focused a lot on that, and I'll explain a lot more around that later. And then we came up with sort of think of these 5 things as a filter or a lens through which we address any service disruption, any proactive, any project that, or any activity that happens within the remedy-on-demand cloud. So first, and we call it the tenets. So the first thing is standards. So I think everybody gets it. This could be your naming standards. This could be your configuration management process, having a CMDB, source of truth. So if you don't have standards, the challenge is more important is you can't scale it. You can't automate it, because programs won't understand what it is if everything is different. So we do emphasize a lot on making sure that the one-offs are managed very, very hard. So we have very little one-offs that we need to do, because one-offs have the need to have tribal knowledge, and when you have a 24/7 operations with people doing different activities like change or release or service requests or work order, if there are one-offs, guaranteed there are going to be issues that we can't manage easily. And then the second one on top that kind of sits on top of standards. In fact, what would make sense is if you go to the next slide, I can actually describe this better. Can you go to the next slide? So this is the same tenets here on the left-hand side. So on top of standards is the automations. If you have standards, it's easy to automate. But along with standards goes this thing called proactive hygiene. By that, what we mean is oftentimes, people focus on day one, which is, hey, how do I configure and set up this environment so that it's all good to go? But then day 2+ is where all the challenges begin, because things go out of date. For example, on the database side, you could have indexes, you could have table stats, defragmentation, operating system patches, database patches. All these things need to be kept up to date in order for the system to continually perform at its optimal service level. So proactive hygiene is another thing, because most customers will be okay to take a 10-minute or a 20-minute proactive maintenance activity on a low downtime, but they would be really not okay if something bad happens during peak business hours. So the hygiene, it shouldn't be a luxury, but it should be part and parcel of running operations. So that's that. And if you go back down to one level, all of this, regardless of standards and automation and hygiene, you can only go so far unless your architecture fundamentally supports it. For instance, in Remedy-on-Demand, the good news is the product is accelerating in the direction of much more resilient, high available architecture, like with mid-tiers being stateless and clustered, highly available, single sign-on being stateless, clustered, HA, same thing with my IT. So all these components are already supporting high resiliency architecture, which will enable us, cloud providers, to make sure that we can do this hygiene, we can do this maintenance and automation with either zero impact or very little impact to end users. So that makes our job a lot more easier, and more importantly, you only have X number of A players in any organizational system, so you can put all your A players on a more of a clustered environment as opposed to trying to manage hundreds and hundreds of environments. So that architecture is key to enabling more and more scale. And then if to peel the onion even more, fundamentally for any cloud operations, you need to have a factor of resiliency in the underlying infrastructure. So that goes in along with designing the infrastructure so that it can handle peak loads, unexpected loads, hardware maintenance, ability to handle hardware maintenance, firmware maintenance. So that's where a design factor comes into play to eliminate lots and lots of single points of failures that could happen if it's not designed and architected and properly for the right scale. So that's kind of the stack, but ultimately what we're trying to do here as the VP of Operations trying to run remedy-on-demand is to build what I call operational intelligence. That's like the box at the right at the top. So think of that as a bucket of knowledge that we want to continually build, either that knowledge is used by humans to run the operations and or by systems to run the operations, so that it can intelligently continue to do work that only people could do before. And that way we mature, because now whatever bandwidth starts becoming available, those bandwidth is now used for more and more engineering work, more and more sophisticated automation work. Therefore, the machine does most of the work. So that's kind of the mantra that's leading towards what I call a scalable operations. And it so happens that because we're BMC software, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I have access to pretty much every technology that BMC produces to run cloud. That includes discovery and CMDB, your application level monitoring, database, hardware, storage, my IT, you name it. So it makes my life a lot easier to bring these technologies to bear and deliver on the goal of achieving scale and building operational intelligence. And for those that are not a BMC shop, I'm sure there's some sort of a service management set of technologies that you might already have. Again, the strength there is not in the individual tools, but how we bring them all together to deliver a more holistic set of use cases or goals to achieve the operational intelligence. So it's really another slang on what most people already know. But again, this everybody understands, but the hard part is to how to implement it, and that's where people, culture, all that comes into play. So the other, on the right-hand side, we are aggressively putting more and more technologies, bringing them to bear, so that we can even further accelerate what we're doing now. So right on the hopper is our capacity management tools and network automation, database, and the list goes on. The good news is we've done it over and over again. I have experience doing this in the IT world. It's just a matter of trying to get people to try to adopt this, learn, use it, and feel good about from the value that they get out of it so that they can learn to use it more. Okay, next slide. What I wanted to share here is actually this kind of goes with the culture part. It is very important that as and when we achieve these operational maturity milestones, it is very important to stop and smell the roses and stop and recognize those milestones. Because if we don't do that, it is very hard for operational folks to look anywhere to get sense of gratification, because simply doing patching, configuring, disaster recovery, service restoration, those type of day-to-day activities are not really fulfilling for operational folks. What is really fulfilling is the advancements that we are making along the way that improves the sophistication of operations, and the fact that he or she or their team contributed towards that advancement puts our state in a better place, more like a gift that keeps on giving over time, really helps them understand why they do matters and how we're able to scale this and how they contributed towards it. So all of this really is kind of the exact same formula for anybody's motivation, happiness. All these theories come together and it applies at a workplace as well. And we as operations folks, and typically most IT shops, do not spend the time to recognize achievements that they do along the way. So this branding here, actually, it is going to be published. I can't tell you the name right now, but very soon, once I have the blessings from my internal folks, I do plan to share all of our internal milestones so that we capture our journey to world-class and get people along with us, because really there's no secret sauce other than the fact that we are BMC and we have these technologies and we have people. Everybody can really share the same thing. In fact, we want to learn from our community as to what others are doing to help and grow their operational maturity. So what you see here, for instance, I'll touch on a couple of them. So on the left-hand side, in the first column, you'll see some use cases. These are all remedy use cases where we have continuous compliance in play, because these things will automatically detect drift in compliance and automatically remediate. So these are things that every IT shop does, but for different parameters. What we do is, for instance, we detect a drift, and then the detection creates an event, the event creates a ticket then sends a signal to orchestrator calls blade logic does the remediation. So different tools come into play, but then they all talk to each other very nicely with no human touch. And the beauty of it is, although it is done automatically, there's still a trail left in Remedy ITSM. And by the way, we use ITSM for our own service management framework internally. So we are also a ROD customer, although we are also a ROD meaning remedy-on-demand service provider. And we capture all of these within our remedy-on-demand instance so that we can then take action down the road. For instance, the beauty of remedy is not how well it does incident or change a problem. The beauty of remedy is really how well all these modules can actually relate to each other and provide a rich set of CMDB data that can be then consumed by every other system in the holistic ecosystem of IT operations management. That's the beauty. So for instance, simply put, the core strength of remedy is its power in helping organizations mature. Meaning you can look for, let's say, noisy CIs or aging things or common patterns, user sentiments. You can make lots and lots of business decisions to then eventually improve operations and enable the business better. So what we're trying to do here with automation and all that is to take away repetitive, mundane activities and redefine what is business as usual for operations. A few other things, like you will see some videos here. There's a video called Golden Remediation Framework. So the concept there is, again, this is just a teaser. We want to create hundreds of videos, take you inside our office, inside our workplace, and have our leaders and contributors simply talk through what they do on a day-to-day basis to continually improve our operations. So they might share use cases, processes, technologies, whatnot, so that, again, we want everybody to mature with us. Maybe the last one I want to talk about on this is bottom right. That's a live photograph. I took it from an iPhone of where I work. On the right-hand side, the monitor is our BMC's end user experience management, which is now called TrueSight App Visibility, what it's showing is in real life, the experience of users connecting to, in real time, connecting to remedy-on-demand. It shows the user's end-to-end latency, frustration levels, tolerance levels, and satisfaction levels across the geomap. So what we are starting to do is to configure these geomap views per customer so that we can eventually release this as another feature for our remedy-on-demand customers so they can put it on their NOC console and look at the experience of their users connecting to their instance of remedy-on-demand. And it also has cool features of rewind, playback, so you can actually play back what happened during the early hours and confirm that yes, at 4:30 a.m., everybody had a bad experience, there was a glitch, and then you can report to us if our monitoring systems has not already caught it. So things like that will help gain confidence with our customers. Maybe I'll touch on one more. My IT, that's on the bottom row, the second one. Because for those who already know my IT, you know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't, it's really, and Rick will explain it a lot more in the coming slides, it's really a formless, frictionless way to interact with IT. So that you have your social mobile aspect, any device, to get what you need, both information pushed to you as well as requests that you can ask and get response right from, and a much more seamless interface. So it takes away this friction around calling people, filling up big forms and things like that. So why not leverage that same exact experience with remedy-on-demand? So that's what I'm trying to do here is, as we speak, my team is working on enabling my IT for our customers that are already subscribers for remedy-on-demand. So what does that mean? Now you'll get push notifications when your systems or services within that system, like your workflow, email, anything is disrupted. You have a service catalog exposed to you where you can directly connect with the person or team that needs to work on it. So you skip over steps and make it a lot more streamlined. You can open change requests. Like today, if you're a remedy-on-demand customer, you probably have to fill out a Word document and attach it to the ticket, and it's convoluted. I've looked at it. This whole interface will change the game of how people interact with remedy-on-demand. The first thing that we will roll out is around change management. I'm really excited. In fact, right after this call, my team is going to show me the demo. I hope it works. If you go to the next slide. Really, people, if you want to look at why people choose cloud, and I've been in that position, by the way, in BMC IT, having to make the choice. And at that time, my CIO really had adopted the SaaS first strategy to say, hey, if there's a viable SaaS solution, really when time comes to re-engineer or re-implement an existing technical service or an application, we should be looking at that. So by that time, and I'm talking at least, I want to say about 6-7 years ago. So, and by the time, a lot of CIOs are already sort of started to embrace SaaS first. And nowadays, that's kind of become the first thing as well. Even complex organizations that what we would have thought would never consider SaaS are also considering SaaS. Why? Simply put, nobody wants to reinvent the wheel if the best practices are already being provided out of the box. So if you think about it, a couple of decades ago, or maybe even a decade ago, the choice was really to build or to buy, and that kind of transitioned over to do I just buy or do I rent? So that's the choice. Now what's going through people's head when they try to make the choice? One of the major ones would be a security, to say, hey, what's going to happen? How secure is my data if it's running in the cloud? So that has come a long way in terms of addressing security, from encryptions to data residency to data isolation. So it's come a long way in terms of maturity. So people are getting more and more comfortable with that. And the other big aspect in selecting a SaaS provider is, can this application integrate with the rest of my ecosystem. Because if you look at ITSM, it's really part of a bigger ecosystem of an ITOM enterprise, right? So you want it to be able to, for instance, talk to your discovery tool, then populate the same DB, maybe talk to your own monitoring tool so that monitoring can generate tickets. Maybe you have some other integrations or automation that's wanting to either create tickets or update tickets or create a change, whatever the case may be, right? So integrations is a key aspect. Here's the cool thing. Remedies, since a very, very long time, knows that it has to work as part of an ecosystem. So the concept of APIs and integrations and providing various methods to interact in and out of Remedy ITSM has always been in place. So that we didn't have to like redo any of them because they become SaaS. So we provide for those who already are remedy-on-demand customers, a very cool, lightweight option to securely connect with your Cloud Remedy instance, and automatically you can start, consuming services and also interacting deeper into the system from other systems. So that's a check as far as trying to make a SaaS decision. And the other really takeaway, if there's any that I'm trying to discuss here, is BMC does BMC best. By that, what I mean is, it's our product, we built it, we know the ins and outs of it, which means we can go a lot deeper in detecting, monitoring, remediating, and my peers in R&D are right next door, and we have a system in place. It's called a 4C exit process. Basically, it's our software development lifecycle where our team or my team in Remedy on Demand has voting rights to say yay or nay as the product progresses, because we have a huge input. Because by running the largest Remedy on Demand cloud, we have lots of data in terms of service issues, things that come up in logs, and what works better, what doesn't work. We provide a lot of feedback back to R&D so that the product continues to mature to be SaaS ready and SaaS resilient going forward. So that feedback loop combined with our voting right to stop releases really puts us in a much better position. And Remedy on Demand, I report to the president of the service support unit. So it also gives me a lot of equal right at the table to make sure that the product is shaped. Last but not least, because we pretty much invented service management and we are continuously reinventing it, as you will see in the future slides, it just puts us in a much better spot to have the ability to not just build the product, but run the product and bring every other product to bear so that the product runs a lot more efficiently and provide this continuous feedback back to R&D. So that's really a sweet spot to be, which we were not for a long time. So I'm happy that we are in that position, and I hope that someday people would recognize that really the premium way or a much better industrialized way to run Remedy is to run it in the cloud. And of course, I'm biased by saying that. While we have spent many years maturing the product and really becoming the de facto standard for what I call an industrialized IT, whose vision and mission is to make sure that the systems are doing a lot more work than people. Remedy supports that and becomes a core pillar for that vision. We have also made, over the last few years, a lot of investment, and we continue to make a lot of investment in bringing that end-user consumerized experience to interact with the backend that's more industrialized. So that's where my IT and Smart IT comes to play. And what I want to do now is to hand over to Rick to start explaining all those goodness that comes with that. Thanks. So off to you, Rick.
Great. Thanks, Nandu. Well, in the same way that Nandu and his operations organization is extending and innovating our cloud delivery, we are also extending and innovating extensively within Remedy. And so I want to give you a glimpse today into a few of the things that we've really pushed forward. And I'll focus on something that Nandu alluded to, which is just the amazing new user experience that we've surfaced for Remedy and Remedy-ondemand. As you know, Remedy is an incredibly powerful tool. It's powerful across ITSM just by itself, also IT operations management, as Nandu very eloquently expressed. So you get all the power of Remedy. When you choose Remedy-ondemand, you get that power in the cloud, and you saw many of the benefits of actually consuming on the cloud, which I'll expand on a little bit later. But to focus on the product itself, Remedy, it is the most powerful in our opinion, and we are biased, but we're also backed up by Gartner and saying it is the most powerful ITSM product on the market. We've consistently been in the top right in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for a number of years now. We're ranked #1 in incident, in change, in problem. For complex organizations, and let's face it, a lot of organizations, regardless of your size, are becoming more and more complex as we rely more and more on IT to power our organizations. Remedy and Remedy-ondemand is rated #1 for complex organizations. And so in terms of leading, part of that charge is this new user experience that we've introduced. And we've introduced it with tools like MyIT and Remedy with Smart IT, both available within Remedy-ondemand. And we've really reinvented ITSM. It is such a clean, an intuitive, a minimal click experience. There's almost no training. It really is kind of like an Apple experience with, of course, we have manuals and training involved, but it is really, truly an intuitive user experience when you start to interact with MyIT and Remedy with Smart IT. And this is the type of experience that your users and your constituents are starting to expect, because let's face it, in their daily lives as consumers of technology, they're consuming things like Facebook, they're consuming things like LinkedIn, Twitter, and the user experiences there are phenomenal. And what we've done is we've brought that same type of user experience to ITSM and to Remedy and Remedy-ondemand specifically. And then underpinning it all, of course, you have to have phenomenal service delivery. And that also, the expectations have risen incredibly on part of your users as well when it comes to service delivery. They're experiencing fantastic delivery from companies like FedEx or Amazon. And they expect you as an IT organization to deliver that same type of service delivery in the workplace. So Remedy-ondemand, what we've been able to do with all of the innovation that Nandu spoke to, and then with our innovation in Remedy, the product, we've brought this amazing user experience and the power of service delivery together, such that what was once a challenge for you as an IT organization to deliver to the expectations of your user base now really becomes an opportunity, and it's a really exciting opportunity to take a hold of with Remedy-ondemand in particular. And so I'd like to kind of share a little bit more about some of the innovations that we've created with respect to that user experience and some of the power of the delivery. We'll focus specifically on the Smarter Service Desk. And the Smarter Service Desk incorporates two really just fantastic innovations: MyIT for the business user and Smart IT or Remedy with Smart IT for your IT worker. And this is both sides of the service desk. So you have your business users with issues, and you have your IT workers at the service desk or your field agents with the solutions. And I'll kind of run through some of the tools and the experiences that My IT and Remedy with Smart IT introduce. Well, both of them, and they work in lockstep. They hold hands to create the smarter service desk, a 360-degree view of the service desk for your users. They both use this concept of formless IT, which is incredibly powerful. There's no more forms with multiple fields and conditional drop-downs and long scrolling. It really is, when you have to find information, it's like using a Google search bar. You start to provide information into the search bar, and you provide context, and the more you type, the more you receive. The more information you provide, the more Remedy provides back to you in the form of, it might be knowledge articles, it might be templates, it might be, if you're a business user, it might be similar incidents to what you're experiencing. It might also be, as an IT worker, incidents that you can, or past cases that you can leverage to help the business users. So as a business user, you find what you need a lot more quickly. And in many cases, in the studies that we're doing with our installs of My IT, we're finding significant deflection from the service desk, because people are able to find what they need just that much more easily. And from an organizational perspective, that's massive, because it deflects tickets and deflects workload from your service desk. From an IT worker perspective, when they're using Remedy with Smart IT, it allows you to find answers and solve questions and issues and challenges just that much more quickly, which has massive repercussions in terms of being able to achieve first call resolution more frequently, or just reduce the cycle time in your mean time to resolve. Another really big benefit of the Smarter Service Desk with My IT and Remedy with Smart IT is its context awareness. It knows who you are. It knows where you are. It knows pretty immediately what your challenges are, and it starts to populate information as you give it hints, or as it knows who is typing. So it'll provide customer profiles, historical data, and it'll actually dynamically suggest resources, as I hinted. And it's all from this one single pane. So getting back to that user experience, prior you had to go pretty deep across multiple screens. Well, this is all started from your single pane of glass that you can dive a little bit more deeply, but so much information is populated in that one place. It's an incredibly social platform. It's based on teamwork, both for the business user and the IT worker. So for the business user, using My IT, you can share best practices that you've learned. You can follow power users within the community that maybe somebody is incredibly aware of how SAP works, and they have an understanding of issues and challenges that you might run into when interacting with SAP. Well, that's someone you might want to follow in your daily life if that's an important tool for you. You can get the latest information, latest articles, just a ton of ability to work socially with your peers, and then also with the service desk, because the IT worker has the ability to immediately share knowledge and promote the most useful information to you and connect experts to requesters in real time. Also, IT workers can have online discussions with each other if they know or if they can see in some of their colleagues' profiles that they've dealt with similar incidents. So they can real-time collaborate to get to a resolution just that much more quickly. Of course, it's a mobile solution. It's designed mobile first, so it's the same service and remedy on demand, regardless of what device you're on. And that's just the new reality, whether you're iOS, Android, any other device leverages our HTML5, universal clients, and all of this is wrapped together in a truly, it's funny to say this within the context of ITSM, but a truly beautiful experience. There's so much more functionality with so many fewer clicks through this formless approach and through the social approach of using tagging and sharing and pinning and liking and searching, that we really are turning ITSM on its head by delivering this consumerized modern experience. And the beautiful thing of being able to deliver such a robust experience is that it increases the adoption within your organization. It makes your job just that much easier, because as you increase adoption, things start to happen, like deflection from the service desk. It increases first call resolution, things of that nature. So when we talk about remedy on demand, and Nandu hinted at a number of this context, what I'd like to focus on is just how remedy on demand enables you as an IT organization to truly focus on the business value that ITSM and your overall ITOM strategy needs to deliver to your end users. So you need to be focused on change and incident and problem and bridging into enterprise service management. What you don't want to have to be doing is administering the actual application, and that's the beauty of remedy on demand. Is it truly provides this concept that we've coined called worry-free cloud operations. You don't have to worry about the operational aspects of delivering remedy and all of the ITOM related connectors to your end users, because there's key things that if you're in an on-premise world that you have to worry about every day. Things like the software itself, the hardware. You have to procure it, you have to install it, you have to maintain it. That takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources to do. Global performance is critical, especially within large distributed, perhaps global organizations across continents, but even within distributed organizations within a state or a province or just across the country. It's incredibly important that you deliver the same level of performance to all of your users. And with the things that Nandu and his organization are doing and have already been done, we're able to provide a consistent level of performance to all of your users. Change and release management. This is something that BMC has nailed. I mean, we are an ITIL company at our core, and change and release management is sometimes hard, especially as you are trying to run a business on top of all of your enterprise applications. And so we take all of the complexity of change and release management out of your hands. We worry about that. You can worry about the business value of remedy on demand. capacity management, throttling up and down to meet different loads in different areas of your application and your ecosystem. Well, that's something, if you need extra compute or extra bandwidth in certain areas, then that's something that we consistently monitor and can manage to make sure that the performance remains high. Availability and monitoring, again, we rely on Nandu's team to do this, and it's all about coming back to the automation efforts that he is doing to provide that outstanding, highly available, we promise 999s availability. We actually deliver above that to 999.5 on average across our remedy-on-demand ecosystem. So you don't have to worry about that critically important level of availability, which is so important to running your business. And the last one that I'll touch on is upgrades, patches, hot fixes. In the past with Remedy, that was a big lift, and I'm happy to say that actually with some of our recent advancements in the product, that upgrades are becoming far less of a lift, and with this upcoming 9.0 release, it'll be much less of a lift, but it's still something that you would rather hand over to somebody else, and Remedy on Demand takes care of all of those. So the net of this is that there's nothing to administer over the lifetime of your usage of your Remedy instance by being in the cloud with Remedy on Demand. And it truly is worry-free cloud operations. Agility and connectivity is also critical when you're in the cloud. You need to be able to, of course, connect your users on both sides of the service desk. We looked at that with some of the innovations, MyIT and Remedy with Smart IT. You need to be able to create that fantastic, outstanding customer connection, but you also need to connect easily throughout the enterprise, and you have to do it in a consumable, minimally configured manner, and you have to be flexible not only from a technology perspective but also from a business model perspective. So I'd like to touch a little bit about on a few items here. So from a business perspective, our licensing model allows you to be incredibly flexible. You can actually, since it is the same product bits, whether you're on premise or in the cloud, you can move from on premise to on demand incredibly easily, and our license construct supports that. You might want a hybrid environment due to regulatory reasons or certain business constraints. You may need certain parts of your organization to be on premise while you'd like the rest to be in the cloud, and we can absolutely accommodate that both technically as well as from a licensing perspective. What about upgrade schedules? Well, it's kind of a funny myth when you're consuming SaaS that you might have to consume at kind of the whim of, consume new upgrades, consume new features at the whim of the SaaS provider. And with ITSM, that's just, and Remedy on Demand, that's not the case. We obviously want you to get the latest and the greatest features at the most rapid pace possible, but we also recognize that you have certain business constraints or times that we need to fit in to not disrupt your business. And so we give a wide berth and a wide window in terms of when we would like you to upgrade, and we take that heavy lifting on ourselves. Integration's incredibly important. So whether it be that whole ITOM approach that Nandu spoke to, or whether it be other enterprise apps, so extending into the enterprise, into financial ERP or HRIS via, into Oracle or SAP or Cisco, It's incredibly important to have lightweight connectors, whether it be REST APIs that are being introduced in the very near term with 9.0, or whether it be the BMC client gateway. We've got really cool ways to do this in lightweight manner, and that's important to consider. Growing at your own pace is also very easy to do when you are using remedy-on-demand and you're operating in the cloud, because you don't have to worry about if you're, say, spinning up a new business unit, or you're moving to a new geography. You don't have to worry about adding new hardware, new infrastructure in a new region, or new capacity to support a new business unit. Essentially, you just add subscriptions, and we make that very easy to do, so it becomes incredibly scalable. And then the time to value for you is really a short time. It's 12 to 16 weeks in an out-of-the-box implementation. And the out-of-the-box implementation does not mean it's just vanilla, no customizations. Absolutely, we will configure and make sure that it meets the needs of your organization. Most of the time, actually, within that implementation is spent ensuring that it is configured appropriately to meet the needs that are specific to the nuances within your company. So at the end of it, we have, with remedy-on-demand, an incredibly agile, connected, worry-free operation that it just makes remedy-on-demand such a fantastic solution to be able to consume ITSM. And I just got my last slide here. I'd like to talk quickly to not what we say about remedy-on-demand, but let's have a look at what some of the analysts are saying. And here's a Forrester study specifically that talks about what are some of the benefits, what are some of the highlights that are driving companies to adopt SaaS. And in our case, we're talking about ITSM and remedy-on-demand. Well, all the things that we just talked about are actually critically important. All the things that we do very well are critically important when you're talking about moving to the cloud. Agility, the speed to value, and that time of deployment are critically important, according to Forrester and the over 1,400 groups that they were able to get feedback from. Innovation within the cloud with things like My IT and Remedy with Smart IT, and a whole number of the innovations that Nandu spoke to. Very important to be able to leverage much more quickly, given it is a cloud environment. And the collaboration that we spoke to, that's you're able to take advantage of by virtue of that connectivity and the social mechanisms that you can consume much more easily. And the solution ecosystem, so connecting into different enterprise applications or IT applications to extend that IT operations management strategy that you have, all very important when considering a move to the cloud. Well, with that is the last slide that I have today, and wanted to thank everybody for attending, and I appreciate you spending all of that time with us. Thank you.
Now and forever, we bring IT to life.